Howdy, folks. Things are getting spicy in the AI music generation world. The lawsuit has been filed. UMG, Capitol Records, Sony, and Warner have filed a complaint against Suno. The poop's hitting the fan, folks. So what are the record companies saying in this specific lawsuit? They allege that Suno's generative AI service infringes on their copyrighted sound recordings. They're saying that Suno's AI model is claimed to be trained on these recordings without authorization, leading to outputs that mimic and potentially substitute genuine human-created music. The plaintiffs, the record companies, are seeking damages, an injunction against further infringement, and legal fees. So let's dig into this just a little bit. So what are the allegations? A. Suno copied and ingested copyrighted recordings to train its AI model without permission. We all know that's the case. It's just common sense. They scrub Spotify, they scrub YouTube, whoever else. You listen to the examples, they're not just scrubbing royalty-free stuff. That's for dang sure. So we know that they did that. Pretty sure that's the case. The concern is that Suno's music can be prompted, or the tool can be prompted to generate music that closely resembles pre-existing copyrighted works, which indicates direct copying according to the record companies, the plaintiffs in this case. It's an interesting situation. We'll get into that in a minute here. So what's the legal basis? They're basing this on the Copyright Act and the Music Modernization Act. So what do the plaintiffs want? What do the record companies want? They want a declaration of infringement. Make Suno say that we broke the law. They want damages. Well, they want to make sure there's an injunction to stop it, shut them down, keep them from doing it. They want damages, including a fine of up to $150,000 per violation. So someone goes out there and goes through all the effort to prompt and get a close sounding copy of a Beatles song, $150K. I mean, that's a lot of money. I don't know where these numbers come from. Obviously meant to destroy the company. And again, is it an exact copy? Does it sound like it's a lot of subjective stuff going on here, folks? Then they want their legal fees covered as well. So where is this taking place? U.S. District Court in Massachusetts. The plaintiffs argue that Suno's actions undermine the market for genuine music and violate copyright protections essential to the music industry's sustainability. I find a couple of points in this a little bit funny. Genuine music. Suno is undermining the potential or the market for genuine music. Fire up Sirius XM. Throw on a Hip Hop Nation. Is that genuine music? Go find some ambient drone streams somewhere. Is that genuine music, or is that someone holding down an Omnisphere patch for half an hour? I don't know how you define genuine music unless you're saying human-made. There's a lot of music out there that doesn't sound human already, and it's been going on for decades. Okay, a lot of bad, generic, sterile, human created, but doesn't sound human or even worth listening to. And then sustaining, music protections essential to this music industry's sustainability. Music industry sustainability. Is the music industry doing well? Yeah, it seems to be. A lot of big artists making a whole lot of money. Kanye and Drake and Taylor, and they're making hundreds of millions of dollars every year. The record companies are getting theirs, but you and me, the common composer, aren't getting much at all. The market is saturated. It's hard for folks to break in. Does AI have anything to do with that? Absolutely not. I think we're already there. I don't think AI is going to make things any worse for artists trying to break through today. So what is the chance that the record companies win? It depends largely on how the court interprets the concept of fair use. How do they determine the effect of the use of AI-generated music on the potential music market? So who defines the music market? The courts don't define that. Who decides what gets played? The record companies do. Who decides what gets playlisted? Spotify does. The streaming companies do. Do artists have much control over that? No. Does Suno have anything to do with that whatsoever? No. If people were to go to Suno and generate a bunch of music, and that takes a lot of effort. It's not just click, click, I got a song, click, click, I got another song. That's not how it works, folks. So what's the chance that someone's going to generate a bunch of AI music and then suddenly find a way to break through because they use that music? Are the record companies going to do that? Are the streaming companies going to do that? I don't see how Suno is doing anything wrong from a content creation perspective. The crux of the case is going to be around copyright infringement and whether or not training on that stuff is legal or not. So the court is going to need to define or determine the commercial nature, the financial nature, and potential market impact in order to say, yes, Suno's tool is damaging. But even that's not the crux of the case. It really gets back to the main point of, is it legal to train on copyrighted material or not? So one aspect could be, and especially with a jury, does intent matter at all? Did Suno create a tool specifically to be used for recreating pre-existing works? I don't think so. So from the record company's perspective, the plaintiff's perspective, they're concerned about direct infringement. They argue that Suno directly infringed copyrights by using their recordings to train the models without permission. That's the main point. Commercial use. Companies are upset because Suno is making profits. You got to pay $10 a month to use Suno, and the record companies can't have that. No, you're using our music to create new stuff. And if someone goes through the effort of trying to prompt it to make something that might sound like an existing work, I mean, what percentage of users are doing that? I heard 800,000 tracks generated every day at Suno. Well, that means that 400,000 times someone pressed create after prompting it. But just pressing create does not create a song. That's not how it works. A lot of folks think, oh, boom, boom, done, song created. When you press create, you get a 2-minute long, usually, song fragment. You want a complete song that makes sense, you've got to extend it and hope that the tool gives you a logical ending, and or you go in and edit, change things, slice things up, move it around. It takes a lot of effort to create a complete song, not just a little fragment that sounds like something. So in most of those 800,000 songs or audio files per day, I mean, you get 2 every time you click the button, so 400,000 per day. That's just people pushing it to see what happens. Write me a death metal song about my cat shredding my couch. Boom, haha, that's funny. They're not taking that and running to Spotify and streaming it and trying to make money. So that's just not how it works. So they're upset. Record companies are upset because Suno is making some money. I'd be curious to see if Suno's even making a profit yet, but we don't know. And then market harm. The record companies are asserting that Suno outputs could saturate the market, diminishing the value of original works. I've said it in many videos. The market is saturated already. How much hip-hop do you need? How much cocktail jazz do you need? How much neoclassical piano do you need? How much happy, clappy, snappy ukulele do you need? How much drone? How much lo-fi? There's more music in the world than anyone can listen to in a single lifetime. So, I mean, there's 100 million songs on Spotify today. Every day, about 100,000 to 120,000 new songs are added to streaming services every day. And that's not including AI, pseudo and Udio, 11 Lab stuff. 100 million songs exist on Spotify, 120,000 or so uploaded every day to streaming services. Now YouTube. YouTube has, the common stats say 800 million videos. An MIT study suggests there may be 14 billion videos on YouTube. What percentage of those are music? How many of those music videos on YouTube are illegal streams of copyrighted record company owned material? Why aren't the record companies going after YouTube/Google for that? Because there's money being made on ads. So this is one of those subjective things. It's always about following the money. So where do the record companies stand regarding the illegal use of their own assets on YouTube? It's all about the ad revenue, folks. So from Suno's perspective, from the defendant's perspective, they could argue in court the purpose of their tool. They can argue that it was designed to aid in creativity, not to replicate copyrighted works. I've seen a couple of interviews of the Suno CEO. He created this tool to have fun, to have folks get together and just create music not having any musical skill. Get the frat boys together, grab a couple beers, insert funny prompt, laugh, move on. Not monetize, just move on. Suno could also take the user responsibility aspect, which I think is a very strong stance. So users who input the prompts to generate works similar to those that exist today, they might be seen as responsible for infringement. I think that's very accurate. I've said that in several videos already. It's a tool. Suno is a tool. It is trained on copyrighted material, and that gets back to the main point of the case, but it's only doing what it's being asked to do. If I run down the street with a chainsaw and decide to cut someone's head off, is it McCullough's fault that someone's head got cut off by a crazy person? If I drive a Ford pickup into a crowd of people, is it Ford's fault that those people died? But these are tools. A gun doesn't kill someone, a person kills someone. A car doesn't kill someone, a driver kills someone. And a composer doesn't, a AI's tool doesn't rip off copyright. A prompting person does, okay? And of course, Suno could also claim fair use, saying, hey, this is transformative. This is innovation. You're not getting a sample of Johnny Be Good or Let It Be or Dancing Queen. You're getting something that sounds similar because the tools are trained on many, many songs, including those songs. I think a real big issue is around fair use. The fair use doctrine, and there's 4 steps, and there's lots of videos out there that cover that. The purpose and character is the first one. Nature of the work, amount and substantiality, but the main one, effect on the market. The impact on the market for the original works. The biggest thing about fair use is, does the fair or unfair use of these products damage the value of existing works? Is John Mayer's catalog or Taylor Swift's catalog or Justin Bieber's catalog going to be hurt because another pop song got created by someone? Absolutely not. It's not like we have control over that stuff. Again, the record companies, the streaming companies, they determine what gets played and what doesn't. It's an interesting situation for sure. There's lots of videos about fair use. Go see Rick Beato or Adam Neely. There's lots of other folks out there where 1 second of a chord and boom, demonetized or copyright strike. Beyonce's estate or people are very, very strict about that stuff. Same thing for the Eagles. There's lots of groups that have been called out by Beato and other folks as, bam, 2 seconds, done. Can't play a single D chord, can't play a certain riff. How can you teach somebody about music or art or architecture or sculpture or whatever if you can't share and show examples? In the case of music, you can't just look at it, you have to listen to it. So that's fair use. YouTube/Google has destroyed the concept of fair use by how they turn videos off or demonetize or shut them down or copyright strike them. It's insane, and sadly there's not even a real person you can talk to about that. That's a bigger crime in my opinion than what Suno's being accused of. So what are possible outcomes here? Injunctions and damages. If the court finds infringement, Suno could face an injunction and significant fees. Again, $150,000 per infringement. That's huge. Shut down, bankrupt, bye, see ya. Or the fair use ruling. If the court says that Suno is using copyrighted materials to train as fair use, then they could, be fine. So what precedents? Are there any legal precedents out there? There's a concept called vicarious liability and negligence. Companies can be held liable if they fail to take reasonable steps to prevent foreseeable harm caused by the misuse of their products. So we have to get back to harm again. What harm is being caused? Is ABBA losing money because someone was able to reverse engineer Dancing Queen? Is the Beatles estate losing money because someone was able to reproduce a song? Or Johnny Be Good, Chuck Berry? Is there harm? I don't think there is. And then there's something called the Section 230 exemption of the Communications Decency Act, which protects online platforms from liability for user-generated content. Of course, there's our exceptions. Courts have found that these platforms can be liable if they materially contribute to the illegal conduct or fail to remove illegal content when notified. Right away, if you type in at Suno, Bruno Mars sounding blah blah blah, it'll say can't do that. You may replace Bruno Mars with soul R&B, but you can't use artist names. The tools will kick you out, or they'll prevent you from doing that. They will substitute the artist name with the genre that the artist comes from. So the platforms can be protected because the users are the one trying to recreate copyrighted material. Then there's legal precedent around product liability. Companies have been successfully sued when their products, although not defective per se, were misused in a way that caused harm. And the misuse, important, was foreseeable. This often applies in cases where companies fail to provide adequate warnings or instructions about the proper use of their products. You look at products, I got nothing I can grab around my office, but look at products and you wonder, who needs that warning label? Who has to write on that little silicone packet that comes inside your electronics purchase, do not eat? Obviously, some kid ate the silicone moisture prevention thing and got sick or died, sadly, and his parents sued because there was no label that said do not eat. One of my best friends, his dad used to work for Coleco, and after he retired, he served as a expert witness in courts. In one of the cases, my understanding, he had to defend Coleco. Someone dove headfirst into a 1 foot child's wading pool, broke their neck, paralyzed. Obviously Coleco's fault, right? Because there was no warning on the side of the pool that said, don't dive headfirst into 10 inches of water. I believe they won that case, they being the person that was paralyzed, because there was no label. There's a case, I wish I had the details, where some bubbas got up on a gigantic gas tank after a few beers at night, wanted to look inside and see what's in the big old gas tank. As in one of those big climb up the tower to the top of the things, pop the lid, can't see, grab the lighter, yay, bubba, what? Boom. Family sues because there was no label that says do not insert lighter into gas fume filled tank, because generally humans are stupid. You see the Darwin Awards every year something stupid happens, and it's not because there are no warning labels, but if you ask why do we have so many stupid warning labels, because people have sued and won for doing stupid crap. So could Suno lose because they didn't put a warning label that said danger, use of this tool might result in a sound alike of Dancing Queen? I don't get it. It's silly. I don't see any harm or danger there. So Suno's case, the argument will hinge on whether Suno took adequate measures to prevent users from generating music that infringes on copyrights, and whether Suno's AI was inherently designed in a way that encourages or facilitates this. People prompting trying to create copyrighted material are the ones, in my opinion, that are infringing on copyright, not the tool. The tool was trained on that stuff. That's the crux of the case. People backwards engineering or hacking the tool. Look, I created, James Brown track, whatever. That's not what Suno was designed to do, and I think that's misuse of the tool. It's an Easter egg. It's a hack. Call it what you want. Now, if the court finds that Suno knowingly allowed or did not prevent misuse, they could be held liable. Can they have predicted that folks would try to go and create copies of existing works? I don't think that was ever their intent. So, in summary, the record companies argue that Suno's actions undermine the market for genuine music and violate copyright protections essential to the music industry's sustainability. I don't see how Suno could cause any damage to the sustainability of the music market. Record companies just want to make sure that they're getting theirs, and they will always get theirs. We all know that. The record companies allege that Suno's AI service infringes on their copyright sound recordings. That's the main crux. Without authorization. Is it fair use? Will the courts decide that? I don't know. With a jury, you never know. You can convict a ham sandwich. That's what the saying is. I mean, in the U.S., you're guaranteed a jury of your peers in the court system. In my opinion, a jury of your peers would be a jury of musicians and performers and composers, not a jury of a bunch of folks that have no jobs and nothing better to do during the day except to be persuaded by lawyers that want to win money and don't really care about reality or what's fair or rational thought or logic. There's plenty of precedents of the courts just getting it wrong. Ask Katy Perry or Ed Sheeran what they think. Juries can be manipulated. Plenty of examples of that lately. I don't know. We're going to see how it goes, man. All I can suggest is invest in popcorn companies, because we're going to need a lot of popcorn to watch this stuff. Thanks for sticking around for my rant. Hope that was thought-provoking. Probably triggered a lot of folks. Light me up in the comments like you always do.